Picture the money you earned this month, not the number printed on your paycheck, the actual cash. Now picture a small flame at one corner of it, the kind you would barely notice, slowly eating the edges while you go about your normal day. That is what these habits do. They never feel like mistakes. They feel ordinary, responsible even, like the exact things everyone around you is already doing. And that is precisely why they work so well. By the time we finish, you are going to recognize a few of these in your own life, probably most of them. These are 12 quiet habits that keep ordinary people broke on perfectly good incomes. Sound familiar? Let's walk through them one by one. Before we start, one thing worth saying. None of these are moral failures. They are not signs that you are lazy or bad with money. They are features of the environment we all live in, an economy that was carefully designed to capture every dollar of your income before you ever get the chance to keep it. Once you can see the pattern, you can step around it. So let's make it visible. Number 1, letting your money sit still while it slowly loses value. She does everything she was told to do. Every payday, a chunk of her income slides into the savings account at the same big bank where she has banked since college. She feels good about it. There is a comfortable cushion sitting there, a woman checking a growing balance on her phone at her kitchen table, and that balance makes her feel. What Maya does not realize is that her money is quietly shrinking every single day it sits in that account. The national average interest rate on a savings account right now is about 1/3 of 1%, according to the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. 1/3 of 1%. Meanwhile, prices across the country have been rising at close to 4% over the past year, driven partly by an energy spike, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So follow the math with me. If Maya's money earns under 1/2 of 1%, while the cost of everything she buys climbs almost 4%, she is losing roughly 3% of her purchasing power every year just by leaving it where it is. That $10,000 cushion she is so proud of buys noticeably less next year than it does today. The number on the screen stays the same. Its real value erodes. The frustrating part is how avoidable this is. A high-yield savings account at an online bank pays somewhere around 4% right now. Same federal insurance, same instant access, same liquidity. The only difference is that the online bank is not paying for a marble lobby and a branch on every corner, so it passes the difference back to you. Moving that $10,000 from 1/3 of a percent to 4% is the difference between earning a few dollars a year and earning close to 400. It takes one afternoon. Hardly anyone bothers, not because it is hard, but because the loss is invisible. You never see a withdrawal labeled inflation. It just quietly happens in the background while you feel responsible. That invisibility is the theme of almost every habit on this list. Number 2, letting convenience eat your paycheck one tap at a time. David is busy. After a long day, the last thing he wants to do is cook, so dinner arrives at his door in a paper bag, carried up the stairs of his apartment building by a delivery driver. It feels like a small thing, $30 here, $25 there. The problem is what happens when you add it all up. Food delivery costs the average American around $1,800 a year, according to data compiled across the major delivery platforms, with the typical person ordering once every 6 or 7 days. That is on top of whatever they spend dining out in person. Now look closer at a single order, because this is where it gets painful. The meal itself might be $18. Then comes a delivery fee, a service fee, an inflated menu price the app charges above what you would pay in the restaurant, and a tip. By the time the bag reaches David's door, that $18 dinner has become $34. He is paying nearly double, and he barely registers it, because each fee feels small and the whole thing takes 10 seconds. Stretch that across a year, and David is spending the price of a solid used car on the convenience of not walking to his own kitchen. And the bag is only part of the picture. When net added up everything Americans spend on restaurants and ordered in food combined, the figure landed near $3,000 a year per person. There is also a quieter cost hiding inside the convenience. A large majority of delivery app users now pay a monthly membership fee for free delivery, the kind of plan that promises to save you money and instead nudges you to order more often, because once you are paying the membership, skipping it feels like waste. So the subscription pushes the orders, and the orders justify the subscription, and round it goes. I am not going to tell you to never order delivery. Life is for living. But there is a difference between an occasional treat and a default. When delivery becomes the automatic answer to what's for dinner, the cost stops being a choice and starts being a leak. A simple fix is to make it deliberate. Decide in advance that delivery is a once-a-week thing, not an everyday reflex. The money you reclaim is not small. For a lot of people, this single change frees up more than $100 a month, and that $100 invested instead of eaten becomes real money over time. Number 3, quietly bleeding cash through subscriptions you forgot you have. Here is a number that genuinely surprises people. When researchers ask Americans how much they spend on subscriptions each month, the typical guess is somewhere around $85. The real figure, when they actually add it all up, is north of $200 a month for the average house. That is a gap of well over $100 that simply vanishes month after month into services people swear they are not really using. It happens because the subscription model is engineered for forgetting. Small charges on autopilot spread across different cards and different billing dates, each one too tiny to trigger. Roughly 3/4 of people have every subscription set to auto pay, which is wonderful for the companies and dangerous for you, because the entire point of automatic billing is that you never have to think about it again. The system is built for frictionless payments, and frictionless payment is just another way of saying frictionless. Priya signed up for a streaming service to watch one show, a fitness app in January with the best of intentions, a cloud storage plan she needed once, and a free trial she meant to cancel. The free trial is the classic trap. Surveys show that the majority of people have at some point been charged for a trial they forgot to end, and more than 4 in 10 Americans admit they are currently paying for at least one subscription they have completely forgotten exists. The psychology is the anchoring of small numbers. $9.99 a month does not feel like anything. Your brain does not automatically translate it into $120 a year, but 12 of those little $9.99 charges add up to nearly $1,500 annually, much of it for things you would not miss if they disappeared. The fix here is almost embarrassingly simple, and yet it works every time. Sit down with 3 months of bank and card statements, search your email for the words renewal and receipt, write down every recurring charge, then cancel anything you have not used in the last month. People routinely find $100 a month hiding in plain sight. That is found money, and it was yours the whole time. Treating buy now, pay later like it is free. This one has exploded, and it is worth slowing down on because it has quietly rewired how an entire generation thinks about money. Buy now, pay later lets you split a purchase into 4 interest-free payments at checkout. It feels harmless. The shoes are $80, but the screen shows you 4 payments of $20, so your brain registers the price as $20, not $80. That reframing is the entire business model, and it works. Shoppers tend to spend dramatically more per order when these plans are offered, by some measures around 70% more per transaction, which is exactly why retailers push them so hard. A phone showing a 4-payment plan on a checkout screen. The store is not offering you it is offering you a reason to spend more than you planned and to feel responsible while doing it. The trouble shows up in the data. Nearly half of Buy Now Pay Later users say they paid late on one of these plans in the past year, according to LendingTree, a number that has been climbing for several years running. People are also stacking them, taking out multiple plans from multiple lenders at the same, losing track of how much they have actually committed. And in one of the more telling shifts, a growing share of users are now financing groceries this way. Think about that for a second. Splitting a grocery bill into installments means you are still paying for food you have already eaten, sometimes with a late fee attached. You bought milk on credit and fell behind. The deeper issue is that buy now, pay later disguises spending as budgeting. It feels like you are being smart, like you are managing cash flow, when really you are just moving today's overspending into next month, where it collides with next month's overspending. Many users now say they could not make ends meet without it, which is the clearest possible sign that it has stopped being a convenience and become a crutch. The honest test is simple. If you cannot afford the whole thing today, splitting it into 4 payments does not mean you can afford it. It means you are borrowing to buy something you could not otherwise buy. Sometimes that is a reasonable choice for a genuine necessity. For a pair of shoes or a new gadget, it is usually the flame eating the edge of your paycheck. Number 5, paying only the minimum on your credit card. If there is one habit on this list that does the most damage to the most people, it might be this one. The credit card statement arrives, and down at the bottom there is a friendly number called the minimum payment. Pay that, and the card company is satisfied, your account stays in good standing, and you feel like you handled it. You did not handle it. You just agreed to one of the worst financial deals available to a normal person. The average credit card interest rate in the United States right now sits around 21%, according to the federal. For people actually carrying a balance, it runs even higher. At those rates, paying the minimum is like trying to empty a bathtub with the faucet still running. Picture someone, let's call him Marcus, carrying a $5,000 balance and paying only the minimum each month. At a typical rate, that balance takes him more than 15 years to clear, and along the way, he pays over $6,000 in interest. He pays for the $5,000 purchase twice, and the second time goes entirely to the bank. Right now, Americans collectively carry more than $1.25 trillion in credit card balances, and roughly half of all cardholders are carrying a balance month to month rather than paying. There is a quiet psychological trap baked into the system too. The average cardholder now has a credit limit of around $30,000, and when the limit is that high, the mind starts treating it like a spending budget rather than an emergency ceiling. Brand new card offers are arriving with rates near 24%, higher than the average on existing cards, which means the newest borrowers are signing up for the most expensive money in the room. The minimum payment exists for one reason: to keep you in debt as long as legally possible, because the longer you carry the balance, the more interest the card company collects. The escape is not complicated, though it is not always easy. Pay the full statement balance every month if you possibly, so interest never gets a chance to start. And if you are already carrying a balance, throw everything you can at it, because at 21%, paying down that debt is one of the highest guaranteed returns you will ever find. There is no investment that reliably pays you 21%. Eliminating a 21% debt does exactly that. Number 6, stretching your car loan until the wheels practically fall off. Cars have quietly become one of the biggest wealth destroyers in American life, and the way we finance them is the reason. The average price of a new car is now close to $49,000, according to Kelley Blue Book. That is a staggering number, and almost nobody pays it outright. Instead, to make the monthly payment feel survivable, buyers stretch the loan out longer and longer. Nearly 1 in 4 new car loans now runs 84 months. That is 7 years of payments on a machine that starts losing value the moment you drive it off the lot. A new car pulling out of a dealership lot at dusk. Let me show you the trap with real figures. Take a loan of about $44,000 at the going rate of roughly 7%. Stretch it over 84 months, and the payment drops to around $660 a month, which sounds manageable. But over those 7 years, you hand the lender more than $11,000 in interest. Now run the same loan over 60 months and the payment jumps to around $867, which stings more each month, but the total interest falls to about $8,000. The shorter loan costs you over $3,000 less, even though it feels more expensive, because you are not paying interest for 2 extra years. It gets worse because a car loses value far faster than a long loan payment. A new car can shed up to 60% of its value within the first several years, according to Kelley Blue Book, while you are still busy paying interest on the original price. That mismatch is how people end up underwater, owing more than the car is worth. Right now, around 3 in 10 people trading in a car owe more than it is worth, and the average amount they are upside down on is over $7,000. When they buy their next car, that negative equity gets rolled into the new loan, and the cycle compounds. To see how far this has drifted, consider that 84-month loans made up about 10% of new car financing a decade ago, and now they are closer to 1 in 4. Nearly 1 in 5 new car shoppers has agreed to a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. $1,000 a month for 7 years on a depreciating asset. That is a mortgage-sized commitment to a machine that is worth less every morning. The fix is a discipline that feels old-fashioned. Buy less car than the dealer says you can afford. Keep the loan to 4 years, ideally fewer. And when the car is paid off, keep driving it. A reliable paid-off car is one of the great quiet wealth builders because, for the first time, the money that used to be a car payment is yours to keep. Number 7, walking past free money from your employer. This one is almost painful because the money is just sitting there, offered to you, and people leave it on the table anyway. If your job offers a 401k with an employer match, your company is promising to add its own money to your retirement account whenever you contribute. A common structure is a 50% match on the first 6% of your salary. In plain terms, for every dollar you put in up to that limit, your employer hands you 50 cents on top. Free, no strings. And yet roughly 1 in 4 eligible workers does not contribute enough to capture the full match, according to research cited by CNBC. The average amount they leave behind is about $1,300 a year. That alone is a vacation, an emergency fund, a real dent in debt. But the truly brutal part is what that money would have become. Because retirement contributions get invested and compound over decades, that unclaimed match, left uncollected over a 30-year career and growing at the market's long-run average of around 7%, adds up to more than $100,000 in lost retirement wealth. You read that correctly. Skipping the free match is, over a working life, a 6-figure decision. Elena did this for years without realizing it. She was contributing 3%, just enough to feel like she was doing something, while her employer was willing to match up to 6%. She was capturing half of the free money available to her and ignoring the rest, year after year. The day she bumped her contribution up to the full match, her own paycheck barely, but her total retirement savings rate effectively jumped because her employer started matching every additional dollar. 2 more things worth knowing while we are here. For 2026, you are allowed to put up to $24,500 into a 401k if you are under 50, with an extra $8,000 in catch-up room once you cross that age, so there is plenty of headroom to. And if you do not have a 401k at work, or you have already captured the full match, a Roth account lets you contribute up to $7,500 a year and watch it grow tax-free for decades. One last reminder that catches almost everyone. When you get a raise, the dollar value of your match quietly grows too, but only if you keep your contribution at the full. Bump it up when your pay goes up, and you collect every extra dollar your employer is willing to hand you. If you do only one thing after watching this video, log into your retirement plan and check whether you are capturing the entire match. It is the closest thing to free money that exists in adult life, and an alarming number of people walk right. If you are finding this useful so far, take a second to subscribe. This channel breaks down exactly this kind of thing every single week. The quiet money mechanics nobody teaches you, in plain language. Subscribe and you will not miss the next one. Now let's keep going, because the next few habits are the ones that sneak up on people who are actually doing well. Number 8, spending every raise the moment it arrives. This is the trap that catches people who are, by every external measure, succeeding. You get a raise. You worked hard for it, you earned it, and within a month or two, your spending has quietly risen to match. A nicer apartment, a slightly better car, a few more dinners out, an upgraded phone plan. None of it feels excessive. Each step up seems perfectly reasonable. This is lifestyle inflation, and it is the reason someone earning $200,000 a year can feel just as financially stretched as someone earning 80. The mechanism is simple and relentless. Income rises, lifestyle rises to absorb it, the new lifestyle becomes the baseline, and then you need another raise just to feel like you are making progress. The finish line keeps moving. People imagine that more money will automatically mean more security, but if expenses climb in lockstep with income, the gap between what you earn and what you keep never widens. And that gap is the only thing that ever builds wealth. Consider two people earning the same $150,000. The first one decided years ago what enough looked like for them and held their spending near $60,000 a year even as their income grew. The second redefines enough upward every time they get a. The first person is funneling $90,000 a year toward investments and freedom. The second saves almost nothing, because the lifestyle always expands to swallow the income. Same paycheck, wildly different futures. The defense against this is to decide in advance what you actually want your life to look like, then bank a large slice of every raise before you ever get. A good rule is to save at least half of any pay increase automatically so the money is invested before lifestyle creep can find it. You still get to enjoy the other half. You just stop letting the entire raise evaporate into a slightly nicer version of the life you already had. Number 9, buying things because they are on sale. A sale is one of the most effective psychological tricks in all of retail, and it works on nearly everyone. A jacket that was $200 is now $90. The store has put a line through the old number so you can see exactly how much you are saving. And in that moment, your brain stops asking the only question that matters, which is whether you needed the jacket at all. Instead, it fixates on the discount. You walk out feeling like you made $90, when in reality, you just spent $90. This is called anchoring. The original price becomes the reference point, and any number below it feels like a win, regardless of whether the purchase made sense. Retailers know this so well that many original prices exist mainly to be crossed out. The sale was the plan all along. The deeper problem is that a discount only saves you money on something you were already going to buy. On everything else, it is just a more persuasive reason to spend. Saving 50% on something you did not need is not saving 50%. It is spending 100% on something you would not have bought at full price. Watch how this plays out on the big shopping days when people fill carts with items they had not thought about that morning, justified entirely by the size of the markdown. The fix is to flip the question. Before any sale purchase, ask whether you would buy this exact item at full price today. If the answer is no, the discount is irrelevant because you did not want the thing. You wanted the feeling of getting a deal. And that feeling, repeated across a year of sales and promotions, is a steady drip out of your bank account dressed up as smart shopping. Number 10. Paying fees just to touch your own money. There is a special kind of frustrating money loss, and it is paying a bank for the privilege of accessing the cash you already have. Two fees do most of the damage here. The first is the overdraft fee. Spend a few dollars more than you have in your checking account, and many banks will cover it and then charge you for the favor. The average overdraft fee runs somewhere between roughly $27 and $33 per occurrence, depending on the survey, and the vast majority of accounts still charge it. A $4 coffee that tips your balance negative can effectively cost you more than $30. Worse, if several transactions clear while you are overdrawn, some banks stack multiple fees in a single day. The second is the out-of-network ATM fee. Pull cash from a machine that is not your bank's, and you can get hit twice, once by the ATM owner and once for a combined average of nearly $5 per withdrawal. $5 to access your own 20. These fees are not small to the banks either. One major bank alone collected more than $1 billion in overdraft fees in a recent year. That is your money, and money like it, flowing out in tiny increments that feel too small to fight. The fix costs nothing. Plenty of banks and credit unions have eliminated overdraft fees entirely, including several well-known online banks and a few of the big traditional ones. Switching to one of them, or simply turning off overdraft coverage so a transaction gets declined instead of charged, can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Set up a low balance alert on your phone so you know before you overdraft, not after. And plan your cash withdrawals so you use your own bank's machines. None of this is sophisticated. It is just refusing to pay a toll on money that was already yours. Number 11. Waiting for the perfect moment to start investing. This one is sneaky because it disguises fear as strategy. You tell yourself you will start investing when the market settles down, when you understand it better, when you have a bit more saved, when the timing feels right. So your money sits in cash, feeling safe, while the years tick by. The catch is that the perfect moment never announces itself, and every year spent waiting is a year of growth you can never get back. This is the cost of staying on the sidelines. The data on this is unforgiving in the best way. Over long stretches, the broad stock market has returned somewhere around 7% a year after inflation, on average. And the single biggest factor in how much wealth a person ends up with is not whether they bought at exactly the right time. It is how long their money was invested. Time in the market beats timing the market, almost without exception. The reason is compounding. Money invested early does not just grow, it grows on its own growth, and that snowball needs decades to reach full size. A person who starts at 25 and a person who starts at 35, contributing the same amount, can end up hundreds of thousands of dollars apart at retirement purely because of those 10 extra years of compounding. The early starter often contributes less money in total and still finishes far ahead because their dollars had a decade longer to multiply. Time, not timing, is the lever. Think back to Maya from the very beginning, with her cash sitting in a near-zero savings account. That account is fine for an emergency fund, money she might need next month. But for money she will not touch for decades, sitting in cash is its own kind of risk. The risk of falling behind inflation and missing the growth that builds real wealth. The fix is to separate the two jobs your money has. Keep a few months of expenses in that high-yield savings account for emergencies. Then take the long-term money and put it to work in a simple, low-cost index fund automatically every month, regardless of what the headlines are doing. The goal is not to be clever. It is to start and then to keep going through every scary headline, because the people who build wealth are rarely the smartest investors in the room. They are the ones who started early and refuse to stop. Number 12, the I deserve it spending loop. We end with the most human habit of all because it is tangled up with how we feel, not just how we calculate. After a hard week, a stressful month, a small win, or a small disappointment, a quiet voice says you have earned a little treat. You deserve it, and you do deserve good things. The problem is when I deserve it becomes the automatic justification for spending that has nothing to do with whether the purchase actually improves your life. It is emotional spending, and it is one of the most expensive habits there is, precisely because it never feels like a money decision. It feels like self-care. The retail world understands this better than we understand ourselves. Entire industries are built on the moment you are tired, bored, lonely, or anxious, the exact moment your judgment is weakest and a small purchase feels like relief. The relief is real, but it is brief, and it is followed by the same feeling that prompted the spending in the first place, plus a slightly emptier account. Over a year, these little emotional purchases, the ones you cannot even remember a week later, add up to a sum that could have been an emergency fund or the start of an investment account. The money did not buy lasting happiness. It bought a few minutes of feeling better, on repeat. The answer is not to never treat yourself, because a life of pure deprivation is not sustainable and nobody keeps it up. The answer is to make the treat intentional instead of automatic. Budget for joy on purpose, decide in advance what your fun money is, and spend it freely without guilt. What you are trying to eliminate is the unconscious, reflexive spending that masquerades as comfort. There is a useful pause to build in here. When the urge hits, wait 24 hours before buying. Most of the time, the desire simply fades, which tells you it was never really about the thing. It was about the feeling. Learn to meet the feeling another way, and you keep both your peace and your money. So there they are, 12 habits, and I would bet you saw yourself in more than a few of them. The cash sitting still while inflation nibbles at it, the delivery bags and the forgotten subscriptions, the minimum payments, the 7-year car loan, the free match left on the table, the raise that vanished, the sale that wasn't a saving, the fees on your own money, the investing that never quite started, and the treats that never quite satisfied. None of them feel like much on their own. Together, they are the reason a good income so often does not turn into real security. Here is the part that should give you some relief. Not one of these requires you to earn more money. Every single one is about keeping more of what already flows through your hands. You do not have to fix them all this week. Pick one. Move your savings to an account that actually pays you. Cancel the subscriptions you forgot. Capture the full employer match. Then pick another. Small changes, repeated, are exactly how the people who build wealth do it. They are not smarter or luckier than they are just slightly more intentional, slightly more often. And if any of this felt new to you, if you found yourself thinking nobody ever explained this to me before, that is not your fault, and it points to something worth saying. The reason these habits trap so many capable people is that almost none of us were ever taught the basics of how money actually. We were handed credit cards and car loans and retirement accounts and simply expected to figure it out. So if you want a real starting point, the foundation that all of this sits on top of, the financial literacy video on this channel is where I would send you next. It covers the core ideas in order, the way they should have been taught the first time, so the mistakes in this video become much harder to make. Everything we talked about today makes more sense once that groundwork is in place. Start there, take it one habit at a time, and the flame at the edge of your paycheck finally goes out.